Feel my feet above the ground.
Shouldn't have said anything. Just pretend you never did.
Nature has cunning ways of finding our weakest spot.
Call me by your name and I'll call you by mine.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to today's review. My name is Ryan, and I'm a Cinemaholic.
My name is Spencer, and I'm a Cinemaholic.
And my name is Bela, and I'm also a Cinemaholic. So today we're talking about Call Me By Your Name, which is directed by Luca Guadagnino. It's a little bit hard to say it. And the plot is in northern Italy in 1993, the 17-year-old Elio begins a relationship with visiting Oliver, his father's research assistant, with whom he bonds over his emerging sexuality, their Jewish heritage, and the Italian landscape. So, do you want to talk about what you thought of it?
Sure, yeah, I'll go first. I'll start off by saying Michael Stuhlbarg, this year, he's been outrageously good. This is his year. In the last 2 weeks, I've seen 3 stellar movies that he was in. So good for him. I like this movie. You know, this one came out at Sundance a year ago. And so we just saw it last night, and I'm still kind of digesting this film. It's definitely one that takes its time and definitely knows what it wants to do. For me personally, the lead up and the anticipation for this film, having to wait a year for it, was definitely something that got my expectations really high for this movie, especially when you get to this point of the year and it's popping up in everyone's top 10 of the year. It definitely set some precedents there for me. And I think it delivered on almost everything for me. Overall, this is a really charming movie. I think the chemistry between the leads, Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet, is definitely there, and it's definitely great chemistry. There were several moments throughout the whole movie where I was just like, that is dang cute. Like, relationship goals. That's how I need to be acting in my relationship. And I really do enjoy, and maybe that's one thing that I really love with La La Land. Someone tweeted out there that this is like the cousin movie to La La Land, and I really do think that I enjoy those movies because there is a particularly strong message in there that people enter into our lives and have this huge monumental role in shaping who we are, but those people don't oftentimes stay in our lives. So it does, in that aspect, have similarities to La La Land, though I think this is not too similar in many other aspects for me. I really did love most things about this. I think I'm just going to end this thought by saying it made Italy look gorgeous. I think Italy was the biggest character for me in this film. It really, really handled the landscapes and the persona. I felt like I had been to Italy after seeing this movie. I'll toss it over to you, Spencer. You saw this about a week ago, so you've had some more time to think about it. What kind of stood out to you? Is it the best movie of the year, like Alicia Malone says?
Okay. That's a tough place to start it because I'm still digesting this movie even a week later. And I have had time to think about it, and I've had time to really reflect on what I love about the movie. So let me go and start with that. First off, Armie Hammer dancing to Love My Way. Come on. Like, that scene was like, I don't even think there's anything more perfect ever caught on camera than the way that man dances to Love My Way. I thought that was brilliant. Like, that whole scene, I was just like, what is he doing? And it was just the best thing. Like, he totally lost himself in the music. But I've talked about this for like 30 seconds, so I should probably move on. Timothée Chalamet. This guy is like the real deal. This kid is an incredible actor. He's had 2 great performances this year with Lady Bird, first of all, and now Call Me by Your Name. I think one of the things that I noticed about this movie is that the setup, it's this really kind of long setup. And I did read the book this year, and the thing that the book benefits, and I felt like benefited me as a viewer, is through a lot of this, and I think the movie captures it very well, is he's kind of trying to fight within himself. Do I speak? There's a quote, is it better to speak or to die? So this character has to decide, like, do I speak my feelings and open myself up to these feelings, or do I lock them away and just let it basically drive me crazy? And there's a slow burn aspect to this whole entire question, this kind of moral dilemma. And one thing I noticed about this movie that I've thought of a lot about since I saw it is they use flies a lot in this movie. Mm-hmm. And I, for a week, have been thinking, I've been trying to avoid reading too much about this movie just because I've been trying to think of it myself, and the flies aren't in the book. So the fly is specifically a movie thing, and I think the reason why they use a fly in this movie is because it's kind of symbolic of the romance. So this romance isn't going to last forever. It's going to be very short-lived, much like a fly's life is. And especially during the end credits, there's a use of a fly and it's after this big critical scene. And I find lots of this movie beautiful. I think my biggest issue with this movie is the kind of, I guess, and I don't want to sound like a snob when I say this, but the main character is like incredibly privileged, so there isn't a whole lot of conflict in the movie. The villain of the movie, in my opinion, is time. It's like the time that will eventually run out, and that this isn't going to last forever. And at the same time, I don't want to call that a flaw, because that's super beautiful and realistic, and I relate to that on a personal level. And that's one thing that I love about this movie, is that I think that anybody who watches this movie with an open mind and soul can relate to many of the aspects that this movie sets up. So overall, I really like this movie. I think the second half just emotionally devastated me, though, at lots of parts, especially a big moment between Michael Stuhlbarg and Timothy Chalamet that is just like one of the best scenes I have seen in a movie, in any coming-of-age movie, I will just go ahead and say. So Bella, go ahead and describe your initial thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. And also, I think this movie is, I don't know why, but it feels really close to me because my family is Italian. So a lot of the moments, like, they were just speaking Italian, like, I understood what they were saying. I'm like, oh yeah, that's really like my family.
Like when the grandparent or the yeah. other people are there and they're all trying to have a conversation. They're doing politics talk. That's great.
That's my family. And also, so my mom lived in the 80s, and she would always tell me stories about like her life in the 80s, I guess. So, and it really like it sounded, the way she would say it was just like that movie, like the dance, and I don't know, everything, like the songs and like summer, because I'm from Brazil. I don't know if you guys know, but I mean, like, not you guys, but the people that are watching us. So that, like, it's like all summer, like it's summer all year. So it really felt like, oh, that's really just like Brazil. And I've been to Italy, and that's true. It's really pretty. It's beautiful. And this is one of my favorite things as well. I really love that they talked about, it's basically all Italy, and I think that's beautiful. And I agree, like, what was his name again? Oh yeah, Armie Hammer. He was brilliant. I loved his performance. It was amazing. And both of them, I think they're really good together. I think they match it really well in the movie. And I feel like people, they're not open. A lot of people that don't agree with everything that's happening in the movie, they're gonna think it's gross or whatever. I don't know what people think, but it's not like that. I don't think a lot of people, even if they're homophobic, I guess. I don't know, it's a really hard thing to talk about, but I don't think they would find that gross because it's just people, you know, and they love each other. And you're saying, like, that is a quote in the movie, that it's better than to speak or die. So it's so hard for a person to not be able to say what they wanted to say or do what they wanted to do with their own lives, you know. And the last part of the movie where the dad talks to Elliot, it really stood out for me. That was one of my favorite scenes, because that's, I think, what everyone needs to hear if they're going through something like that. And sometimes they don't have that support in their lives, which it makes everything hard, and they don't want to say anything. They just want to hide it because society doesn't accept it. And it's really sad because those people are suffering. So, and one thing also that I think was really interesting is that Elliot, it's so hard to say. Yeah, Elio. Yeah. Because I was like Elliot for some reason. Okay, Elio. He is really just like a teenager, a normal teenager. Like when he was going to kiss the girl, or I forgot his name again. Yeah, Oliver. It was like super, not awkward, but it was kind of awkward. I was like, oh, okay, that's really like what a teenager would do.
Eats his nose.
Yeah. It's like, that's so funny. It's really a coming of age story. And I really enjoyed that. And he's just trying to figure out who he is. And he just hides this feeling that he has, but he doesn't want to at the same time. He just wants to live the life that he has. So I think it's a really powerful movie, and I really enjoyed it very much. It's not one of my, it's one of my favorite movies. I don't know if it'd be top, like my favorite movie of the year, but it's definitely one that I really enjoyed it. And until like right now, I don't think there's any flaws. And I really, like, it's not perfect. I understand that, but I can't think of anything that I didn't like in this movie. So,
can I cut in real quick? One of my favorite aspects about this movie that I found so refreshing, and this might be a spoiler, so if you plan on watching this movie, go ahead and tune out real quick or mute me or whatever. I love how basically everybody who knows about this relationship accepts it and there's no backlash. Like, that was one of my favorite things I found super, super refreshing, because in a lot of LGBT movies, we're shown some pretty homophobic, as Bella brought up, individuals who kind of are bigoted and turn against people and tell them to deny their feelings. And this movie does the complete opposite. That big monologue that Michael Stuhlbarg gives, that's like, if he wins the Oscar, they'll play that clip, you know, before he wins it. The big moment where he tells his son that, you know, don't shut yourself out, don't lock away your feelings, because if you close yourself off and you deny all these feelings, then it's a huge waste of yourself. I think that is a scene that no matter who you are, no matter what gender, no matter what race, anything, you're really going to find that scene powerful, and you're going to find insight. And it's a very wise scene that moved me on a really, really deep and profound level. And I think lots of people could benefit from hearing just that one scene about guiding themselves with their own lives and forging their own identity. And that's what I found so powerful about this movie. And that's one of the reasons why I really think I understand totally why this movie is connecting with so many people and topping so many people's best of 2017 lists.
I agree. And also one thing, love is love is love is love is love. I don't know. And continuing. That's it. That's all we have to know. Love is love, and it doesn't matter the gender, the race, or anything. It's just, you know, love. I thought you were going to say something.
Yeah. At the risk of being controversial and causing some backlash, I will say that for me, there's a few things that I'm still really kind of mulling over, and I think a second viewing will really help me form an opinion on. I think with a lot of LGBT movies, they can tend to come across as preachy, or like, accept me kind of a thing. And I feel like this movie doesn't do that. I feel like this movie really is able to bring this into focus, because this is a relevant topic that we need to be talking about. And like you guys have well said, it does show it in such a natural romantic way that it's not. It never tries to say this is a homosexual relationship. Look at us. We need attention because this is what we're talking about. It is very, very realistic in that sense. My only issue, I agree with both of you that scene where his dad is talking to him, that is such a powerful scene. For me, after the first viewing, I want to see this so bad for a second viewing, but after the first viewing, the transition for me, I don't think it worked as well as it could have. It did kind of feel like a shift from a really grounded movie to now I'm going to give a speech, and this is the point of the movie. Everybody listen. It did the transition into that first time kind of felt like, oh, prepare yourself. But the scene itself is just so brilliant and so important that it doesn't bug me. It's just if I had to point out a flaw after the first viewing, it did kind of transition for me into a this is getting important kind of a thing. And that's not a bad thing, but it is a thing.
I think that's a really interesting point, Ryan, and I agree with you because while that's my favorite scene in the movie, maybe that is an issue I have with this movie is I don't think that scene necessarily fits into the entire narrative perfectly. And like you said, I've only seen this movie once as well, but the rest of the movie is so slice of life. Every single scene feels super, super authentic, even down to like you guys brought up, like there's a lot of scenes of people eating. Like it's just like people having dinner and talking to each other. And the dialogue feels so naturalistic. And that's the one scene that's the big monologue scene where a character like gives a big emotional speech, like you said. And it kind of reminded me of that scene, and this is a weird comparison, but the scene in Logan Lucky where the little girl sings the country road, take me home to the place I belong. Yeah, that part. And that scene felt like the Hollywood scene in the movie, I guess. And the rest of the movie felt so grounded and true and real. And like there's that one scene, and spoilers again, where Timothée Chalamet and he had just gotten done like
with the
masturbating into a peach, and then Armie Hammer comes in and he's just like starts sobbing and he says, I don't want you to leave. And it hit me like a punch in the gut. And I was just like, holy crap, this kid's a good actor. And like, I didn't realize how important the relationship was to me until that point. And it's just this small moment between two people that I really just like, I really ate up that scene. And then, yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I went on way too long to just say I agree.
No, it's good. I think we're all basically on the same page here with this. I'll wrap up my thoughts by just really trying to drive home the fact that Timothée Chalamet is brilliant in this. Like it is a next caliber for him. And this, I don't know, he's just so natural in this movie, and it is kind of a 180 from the character he plays in Lady Bird,
which I hated.
So yeah, so to be able to see these two contrasting characters in the same year is quite something. Yeah. And I don't really recognize him from much else. You said he was in Hostiles.
Yeah,
I don't even remember him in that movie.
Haven't seen it.
I didn't really like it, but whatever. That's not what we're reviewing. I will say my favorite, bar none, moment in this movie is the last shot of the film. And I love the way that it kind of describes the whole thing we've been talking about, that it's slices of life within this person's life, and it jumps around. It's not a cohesive timeline. It's glimpse, and they hold on to moments and they stick on moments. And that last shot where it's just trained on his face, you see every single emotion go through his mind and through his face and down his face. And it is such a perfect, uncut, raw moment where he experiences everything this character experiences. And she pointed out as we left that that's a brilliant way to tie that into the credits as well, because I wasn't going to look away. I was glued in through the whole credit sequence because of his acting. I'm going to go ahead and score this, and then we'll toss it over for everyone to summarize their thoughts. And I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I really, really liked this movie. It really worked for me. And then there were a few moments, like I talked about, that transition into a kind of monologue. And I feel like maybe the beginning was a little slow for me and a little differently paced. I don't think it was incorrectly paced, but it did kind of feel like they were focusing a little bit more on Italy than on the story we wanted to get into. I think that could have been kind of honed up and fine-tuned a little bit for me, but great movie. Spencer, what would you rate it?
So I think I'm also going to give this 9 raccoons out of 10. One shot I really loved in this movie that just kind of wrap up my thoughts as well is this movie kind of the theme to me. The main theme of it is time. And there's that great shot where he first tells Oliver about his feelings, and it's a oneer. It's just this big long shot. And there are several moments where I thought it was over, but I really loved how that kind of drew out the tension and kind of made you feel like how long this moment felt for the character of Elio, because this is told through the eyes of Elio. He is our like main character in this movie that we follow through these events. And yeah, I found lots of this movie just to be incredibly beautiful and just very, very well done.
I agree. I won't give a golden raccoon for this movie. It would be 9.5 though. 9.5 raccoons out of 10. Because I agree with Ryan. I think it was a little bit slow in the beginning, but I really enjoyed this movie. I think it was beautiful, and every aspect of it, it's brilliant and amazing, and I really enjoyed it. So
awesome. Thanks. Thanks for watching, guys. Go ahead and follow all of us. You can follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd and Stardust at Rye_Gordon.
And you can follow me on Twitter at BellaRomano_ and on Stardust and Letterboxd at Bela Romano.
You guys can follow me on Twitter, Stardust, and Letterboxd, all at Spinny Hand. And remember, guys, Army Hammer, dancing to Love My Way. Only thing you need in life.